Right now, they are committed to paying him $48.7 million. That money is fully guaranteed, and then he's going to have to earn that as he plays football. Let's bring in a tax expert, Steve Moskowitz. How are you, sir?
Fine. Yourself?
You're well. You're going to move the mic a little closer to you. Here. Otherwise, I'm going deaf here. So Don Yee...
I can shout.
I know. That's right. Well, you're sitting right next to me. You want the audience to be able to hear you.
Oh, okay, good.
Don Yee is Jimmy's agent, obviously. Yes. He has several people that work for him. He's a big-time agent, does Tom Brady as well. How much do they, when they craft a contract like this that could get into, the $130 million range, I assume on Don's staff he has people that specialize just in your line of work, which is tax. So
Sure.
if you were to craft a deal like this, what are some of the things a tax expert on Don Yee's staff would be looking to obtain?
The first thing here is in California, because the top tax rate's 13.3%, and no more federal deduction. It used to cost you a lot less because you deducted on your federal return. Now you can't. Basically, very simple. You just have to say, here's the net I want. How much more do I have to put on top of that for California? That's all they do, just make an adjustment.
So, I mean, it sounds like a simple thing, but are there ways to minimize that, or are some of those loopholes being closed so that flat rate, this is what you're paying every year?
Depends on the taxpayer. Businesses have a lot of tax breaks. Real estate investors have a lot of tax breaks. Individuals, it's a different story. Individuals, it's more and more like it's a flat tax.
Could he be a business? Could he declare himself a business?
Sure, he could, but then this happens all the time when the IRS looks at usually independent contractors, and they kind of say, no, no, no. This guy is your employee. You failed to pay the payroll taxes, and then the company gets in trouble, so they're not going to do that.
One thing we always talk about is the difference in the state income tax level here, and you pointed out at 13.3%. Some states are zero.
Zero, like Texas.
So when players go on the road, and I often hear this, like when Jimmy Garoppolo plays a road game in the state of Texas or the state of Florida, which have zero, does he pay less tax when he goes to those states? Can he offset because he's playing a road game outside of the state of California?
Sadly, even if he played a game in China, if he lives in California, he pays tax to California for that game he played in China. Now, if he plays a game, say, in New York, where there's a state tax, you don't pay twice. You get a credit between the states, so essentially you pay the tax of the higher taxing state.
Let's talk about this China thing.
China is over on the other side of the world.
Okay. I don't think they're playing a game in China this year.
So basically, under the new tax law, let's say if they paid him the lump sum of only the money they guarantee him, which is $48 million.
How could you get along on that? You'd have to have a second job.
I couldn't. I mean, I drink that much. Yeah. What's take home? How much of that disappears?
Usually we figure rule of thumb about half.
Okay, so he's already down to $24 million. I mean, he'll be eating out of dumpsters in an hour.
I would think he'd be looking for a second job, yeah.
Stay single is my advice as well. Just real quickly, this Ron Borges story. So Don Yee is Jimmy's agent. A friend of ours, Ron Borges, a reporter of the Boston Herald, was duped last night, into thinking he was talking to Don Yee on a text message exchange and an actual phone call. Tom Brady, John also represents him, and the Boston Herald had a huge story last night in the paper saying that Brady's going to hold out. He wants Jimmy Garoppolo money, and it turns out to be a complete scam. And yes. Ron has been suspended by the Boston Herald pending an investigation. He may lose his job over this. Does the Borges family, and I think they are considering a lawsuit here, do they have a lawsuit against this guy who's portrayed himself as Nick from Boston on Boston radio?
They could, but first we have to see, what's involved. And part of the problem here is this writer has a prior for plagiarism, so he should have been extra careful. And anybody knows you check your sources. So there's a lot of problems here. It's sometimes called contributory negligence, where, yes, something happened to you, but, boy, you contributed to it. That doesn't mean it was right for the other guy to do it. But the problem is this guy has so much experience, and it's happened before with the plagiarism, that he really, really should have checked. Even a Cub reporter should have checked.
All right, sir. We thank you for your time. We'll
Always
see
a pleasure.
Steve Moskowitz, our legal and tax expert, on the Happy Hour coming up. We are going to continue the story in our discussion about Ron Borges, who did work for the Oakland Tribune for a number of years, went to the Boston Globe, has been working for the Boston Herald, and he had the story today that Tom Brady is holding out last night because Jimmy got a new deal, and now the whole thing has turned out to be a not true. Didn't happen. A Foxborough farce.